Charged with flavor, it says. A lie. I wouldn't say it's charged with flavor. It's pretty typical British beer, made by a fairly typical British metal band. How you doing? Welcome to the enchanted kingdom of Hermione. We're just sitting here by the fire up in the turret of pleasure, going over the amazing riches that have been bestowed upon us by the Empress, or largely by the Empress, because she came across a motherload of stuff in the thrift store last week that I am just only now beginning to comprehend. I've been trying to listen to a lot of it so I can actually tell you what it's like, but I haven't listened to it all. But I already went over all the punk rock, which was nuts. There's so much punk rock to choke a small horse. And today, I've divided the rest of them into two other piles. And today's pile, I'm going to call it the Verities. These are the, classic stuff. I buy this stuff always for cheap, especially for cheap. Sometimes I don't spend much money on it. Like I won't spend $20 on any of these, but I will spend $1 on them happily. And I learned stuff. And so this is another pile, 25 in order of, in chronological order, roughly. So the first two, here we go. Maxine Henderson. Who, I hear you say, well, you know what? That's kind of what I said. I don't really know Maxine Henderson. I knew she was a singer, jazz singer, kind of pop jazz singer. Her big hit was Loch Lomond. And there it is. It's on both of these, I do believe. One of these is Fresh Sound, good old Distribution Fusion. I wonder if they still exist. They were difficult to deal with when I lived in Toronto because nobody at their phone office in Montreal spoke any English whatsoever at the time that I tried to communicate with them about purchasing CDs, so we didn't do much of that. Maxine Henderson, I'm really happy to have these. These are $1 each. I mine these for songs. I get new songs out of this stuff, and it's always great. This one was great. Now, I got a bad feeling this is hard to find now. Sonny Terry, what's it called again? Whoopin' the Blues? Whoopin' the Blues, the Capitol recordings. Now, these are fucking old. These are not new. And I listened to this whole thing. It's from the 40s, I think, which makes me wonder just, like, Capitol must have just been a brand new label when these were done. Very nice package. These are really well done. Anywhere from 1950, 47, 50. So late 40s. Brownie McGee's on a lot of it. Very, very simple accompaniment. And I'll tell you what, though. I look for songs. Like vocal, guitar, piano, and drums. And I say drums very advisedly. And Baby Dodds on drums, Sticks McGee and Brownie McGee. I wonder if they're the same guy. At least 4 songs on this record have in their storylines Sonny taking his gun and shooting his significant other for various misdeeds. So it's from a rather less enlightened time. And he gets he gets really specific sometimes. But it's really cool. And Sonny Terry, I mean, possibly the greatest blues harmonica player ever. So you get a good dose of his Capitol stuff. Gene Krupa, Compact Jazz. These are worth $1. I don't care who it is. Anita O'Day, Roy Eldridge, Ben Webster. Great drummer from the 40s, of course. I don't think this is from his salad days. I think this is from the days after, when he got sort of bigger money from Norman Granz. And again, I gotta dig out my glasses. I forget what era these are from. We're gonna see 56, 53. Yeah, mid-50s. When he was more Norman Granz, Ed Berger. Yeah. Good stuff. Worth $1. Again, I buy this stuff to listen to it so I can learn what it's like. Because Gene Krupa was a big deal back in the day. Kind of the Keith Moon of his time. And now I don't even remember where I got this, and I don't need it because I got it in the box. But you will be hard-pressed to find a better jazz CD than this anywhere. And I'm tempted to just leave this at a bus shelter and see what happens. It's not in great shape, but it'll play perfectly fine. And this is, I mean, you know, Monk on Blue Note, Humph, Avance, Suburban Eyes, Thelonious, Nice Work If You Can Get It, Ruby My Dear, Well You Needn't, April in Paris, Off Minor. A lot of these are the first time these are recorded. Absolutely the cornerstone of modern jazz. How can you not want this? Unforgettable, Dinah Washington, sorry. This is not as good as all that. It's pleasant. A little bit soft around the edges, but what's really funny, I just realized this now, that I bought this in the same thrift store as Johnny Hartman's Unforgettable, which is I like this one better. Johnny Hartman is hard not to like. Kind of that, I don't know how you describe him. He's like Nat King Cole, but he's got a bit more, I don't know, jazz in him, I guess. Dinah Washington, any Dinah Washington record's worth $1 just to hear it once. Just pretend you're in a jukebox in a cool bar. Then we got Nina Simone sings Ellington. Now, I haven't listened to this yet. This is in my to be played pile. Reviews suggest that you're not going to believe this. She doesn't do these songs as straight as she might. Who fucking knew? I'm willing to bet I really like this. Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me, Got It Bad and That Ain't Good. Something to Live For, Solitude, I Like the Sunrise. And it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. I'm looking forward to that one. That was a buck. Ben Webster, the Buttertone tenor saxophonist. King of the tenors. Again, for a buck, I'm buying this. Now, this is not what it looks like. I thought this was a best of, but it's actually an actual album issue. And, you know, I'm a sucker for this shit. Look at this. I'll buy this for $1. Doesn't matter. I'll never listen to it. Moving into the late 50s, early 60s, An Evening with Tom Lehrer, which is sort of a comedy record, really. Poisoning Pigeons in the Park is the big song off of this. It Makes a Fellow Proud to Be a Soldier. I gotta listen to that one again. And the Masochism Tango. College humor from the liberal early 60s. Kind of interesting to visit this at this point in time. What would it be, 60 years ago? And speaking of the 60s, here we have my old pal Dick Dale. Now, this was a find. This is all the Dick Dale I really need. Or you. Absolutely raw as it gets, surf guitar. This has most of the songs that were any good at all from his early years. He did some records with Capitol where the fidelity went up by a considerable margin. And then at the very end, there is a thing with Stevie Ray Vaughan, Pipeline with Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's okay. It's, you know, great. But for me, the thing is that the vast majority of this is old. I think there might be 2 newer songs on it. 86. Yeah, 16 of 18 are pre-64. Back to the Beach, that's from. Now, it's funny because in the thrift store a little while ago, I found a CD by Dick Dale done in the 90s for Beggar's Banquet. That's a weird CD. Not really that good, but I think he was cashing in on the success of his revival there with Lynch's movies. Anyway, if you want to hear what Dick Dale's all about, there's where you go. He just passed away a few years ago. I got to do sound for him twice. And he was an interesting character. So this was a dime. Now you're going to go, what? Floyd Kramer, get out of here. And yes, I would say the same thing. Except, and this has happened now a bit lately, I recently bought Gary Burton's autobiography, Learning to Listen, which I would highly recommend to anybody who likes a good music book. And Gary Burton is one of my favorite musicians, jazz vibist, nonpareil. Probably, I don't know, I think he's the greatest jazz vibist ever. But his story is a very, very interesting and a very entertaining story. Very entertaining book. And he was from Indiana, just a kid. And learned how to play the vibes when the vibes was basically a brand new instrument. And so as a result, he was very good. He learned how to sight read really well. So where he lived wasn't that far from Nashville, and through a series of fluky meetings, he met Boots Randolph, who lived near him in Indiana. He got onto a couple of gigs really young in Nashville and ended up on a Floyd Kramer session, which ended up being his song Last Date, which was, I do believe, Floyd Kramer's biggest hit ever. And Burton mentions in his book how it was weird to be on this huge hit single where he barely had to do anything. Anyways, for a dime, I wanted to hear Last Date because I hadn't heard it. And so there it is. This is me trying to take the jewel box out unsuccessfully because I wanted to get that tab out of there. Staying in the 60s, and you know what? I didn't even really look at this. This isn't the 60s. I think this is a damn surely, I should say, trying to modernize her sound perhaps for the Decca label. What year is this? Now, I just found the record of remixes of her stuff. 2002. Let's get this party started. I think this is all modern recordings. At any rate, again, I think this was a dime. And for a dime, I'll buy this just because. Oh, yeah, Oh, my goodness. Yeah. This is all kind of, they're trying to bring her into the modern world, I suppose. And I haven't heard it, and I'll report later. I got a bad feeling about this one. Okay, now we're getting into some neat stuff. Willie Nelson. I love Willie Nelson. I especially love old Willie Nelson. And this CD apparently looks to be called Double CD. I'm going to bet that whoever made this did not use English as a first language. It's a double CD, strangely enough, on the Classic World Productions Inc. label. Catalog is CWP 9905, which makes me wonder if there's a 9904. It's basically, there is no information whatsoever. Nothing. There you get the fabulous GWP logo. You do get a list of the songs and who wrote them, in which case I do believe they are, oh no, not all of them. Broken Promise is co-written with Hank Cochran. So there's a few co-writes. But what these apparently are, from my research, is demos of these songs from the early 60s. They're actually really good. They're a little bass heavy sometimes. Performances are austere, but I find that in many cases, that's the way I like to hear these Willie songs. And some of them are really effective, just super bare bones. So who knows where those originated, those recordings. And then there's this, the Lena Horne Gabor Szabo record. I forget, I've got the album. I found the record itself in the thrift store a while ago. Distributed by Trend. Boy, I remember Trend. Let's see, on Parade. Now this is a reissue. Rexdale, Ontario. Boy, oh boy. I'm trying to remember Trend. This is a record of Lena Horne with a small band, arranged and conducted by Gary McFarlane, featuring Richard T., Grady Tate, Chuck Rainey, Eric Gale, spelled Gayle, which is wrong, and Cornell Dupree. And that's a really good band. And with Gabor Szabo as well, this is actually a pretty damn good. It was a double album, and it's on a single CD of very dubious provenance. But again, for $1, I thought I'm going to buy this because I can probably sell the record or trade it for something. Because Lena Horne has her strengths and weaknesses because she did a lot of recording. That's very good jazz. And if you want to hear Lena do jazz, that takes some beating. I think it's from about 68. And then there's these. Now, I have very mixed feelings about these records, these CDs, I should say. They come from the library. The library, because, they don't want people stealing their CDs, covers them in this garbage that you cannot get off, or you do at your peril. Library CDs are often not in fabulous shape because, CDs are invincible and you can't scratch them, don't you know? And then thirdly, they are covered in these fucking stickers that basically you can get them off, but it's not worth the trouble. However, because I'm a great proponent of the fact that CDs will play even when they're fairly beat up, Aftermath and Let It Bleed, believe it or not, I don't have on compact disc. I think I still have rather battered old vinyl copies of these. And I'll tell you what, I was thinking I hadn't listened to Aftermath in 30 years. And when I play this, I know I'm going to enjoy it because both of these are solid A-plus Stones albums. And again, I think they were $1. The Empress found this. It had one of those stupid sticker things on the top across here that said Shankar in Moscow. And so she phones up and says, I got Shankar in Moscow here. And I go, wow, buy it. But she didn't have Shankar in Moscow. She had the Sitar Concerto, which is a cool piece. Zubin Mehta, the London Phil. This was back in the 80s, 70s? 82. East Meets West. Pretty darn good version of East Meets West. If you like that kind of thing. Ravi Shankar, I like Ravi Shankar, so there you go. The Verities, more. Well, here you got Neil Young. Now, I don't have this. And this record I remember being okay. It's apparently only okay. It does have like a hurricane on it. I'll buy anything by Neil for $1. This was $1. And so there you go. I bought it. Another thing, I'm such a sucker for these. James Brown live. Oh, yeah. Somebody got a board mix from a gig. James Brown played millions of shows. So I always try to date them. Okay, if it's from the era I like, this is indeed from about 1980. And that band is a good band. And there's a lot of really, really pro forma stuff here. But Gonna Have a Funky Good Time, or It's Too Funky in Here, is really good. The road band in this is good. The sound's pretty solid. They do Body Heat, which is interesting. And they do Jam 80s, and I like Jam 80s. So, for $1, I'll buy 1 million of these. It might all sound the same. Who knows? In the department of... Oh, God, somebody did this. Don't do this to your CDs. Jimmy Cliff, Breakout. Now, Jimmy Cliff is a tough guy because he's never been in the top rank of reggae artists for me. And to me, he's almost sometimes not reggae. But he is also the guy that did Harder They Come, which was basically this record that kind of started it all. And he's made a lot of good records. And this is, despite the unbelievably shoddy packaging, this is not a bad record. And he's really good at making pretty good records. You're not going to get a lot of politics out of him. You're going to get maybe a little bit of One Love, maybe a little bit of whatever. He's more of a soul singer, certainly lyrically. And if you get kind of quirk sniffy about his not being enough of a Rasta, you'll miss out on some good reggae. So I always give him a second chance. Speaking of Verities, the late great Ian Tyson, I found 2. Bear Family Records did an Ian Tyson record, and it's a reissue of, I don't know one of these is a Stoney Plain. So these are both, this is 1988, and this is, what year would this one be? Oh, 83, 84. 4 Strong Winds. Anyways, I haven't listened to these. Old Corrals and Sagebrush and Other Cowboy Culture Classics. Now, I'm willing to bet that's a really good Ian Tyson album. And I would also say this probably is too. This one is probably going to be a little bit more slick, I'm guessing. And, but I was really happy to find these when I found them because of his passing. And whenever somebody passes, I just instinctively sort of do a quick, think about, what did this fellow do that sort of moved me, however. Last CD, What's Not to Love About? Keith Jarrett, Charlie Hayden. These guys can do a CD of anything and I'll listen to it. Dance of the Infidels. Oh, right. One of those terrible ECM covers that just doesn't have a design of any description. Probably Keith thought it was unseemly. Takes away from the music. Despite his kind of snooty silliness, Jarrett is brilliant. Charlie Hayden, both of these guys are absolutely top rank. Both at the top of their game. They played forever. They can basically hear each other's thoughts. And when they get together and play, it's just beautiful. So I get to add another CD to my collection of both of those guys. So there you go. So we're up to 50. So it was 50 out of this thing. I think we paid I'm going to bet $60 for the 50 plus the other pile that I'll deal with later. But yeah, there you go. So I got some stuff to crush and stick on the stick and listen to it in my car, and I'm listening to it here at home. And basically, I've got so much new stuff, I got no time to play any old stuff. So that's not a bad problem to have. So thanks for watching, and we'll get back at you with more. There's more silliness in the offing, I'm sure. So don't forget to hit the subscribe. I got a nice steady trickle of new subscribers. Makes me feel like I'm doing whatever properly. And we'll get back at it. I'm going to do some videos in the future about bands and my sort of journey with them. But those ones have to be slightly more thought out. These ones I can just sort of roll. But anyways, thanks a lot. Take care of each other. And we'll talk at you later.